Oh, we've made it, and we're here with horses and a saddle. So, yes, I just want to hang out with you guys today and do a little bit of research and story time about saddles. How are you guys today? We have a nice cloudy day, Central Coast, California today, and I just love a cloud. But so let's get set up here. I didn't know how to start, if we're going to put you on the tripod or if I'm going to walk you around or what. So anyway, if you get dizzy, hang tight. I don't have the best tripod. It doesn't have the proper shoe mount fitting, so it's going to go around in circles. Oh, you missed so many. Hey, Coffee and Crate. Hi, Scotty. I see you. Yep, so I thought this would be the best thing to talk about today. So let me get you on the tripod and we'll go over that. Sorry, close your eyes if you get dizzy. Glad you all made it, by the way. Glad you made it. And I've been wanting to do this video for a while because I talk about this to my students a lot, which is basically your equipment. And it's kind of an unfortunate thing where I get so many students and they don't know the first thing about what they're using. And so anyway, hi. I'm Monica Kraus, and I am creator of United Mustangs of America, a horsemanship academy that focuses on the art and science of horsemanship. And so here we are talking about the science of saddles. And let's see, I started my horsemanship career in 1989. I was 9 years old. And I started out English riding. So it was funny because we didn't know what my dad, my first horseback riding lesson. I remember it was a Tuesday after my 9th birthday. It was my first horse riding lesson. And so my dad takes me to this horse store, and we don't have horses in our family. We're just completely suburban home. Girl wants to ride horses. Let's get her first riding lesson. That's me. So he takes me to a horse store, and we're buying cowgirl hats. We're buying boots, cowgirl boots, and I had the button-up thing and the bolo. Like, I got the whole outfit. So I'm going to my first riding lesson. I show up, and it wasn't that at all. I had to use loaner boots because they had these knee-high boots for English riding, and we had a whole different style saddle. I couldn't wear my cowgirl hat. We had to have a helmet and all this stuff. So we didn't have all this stuff prepared. But we can make another show on attire, but it wasn't about that. I'm just trying to show you where I started, and it was about being an English rider. And so I got introduced to the English riding saddles, and what's neat about these saddles is they're very versatile. You can do a lot in an English saddle. So if you don't know what an English saddle is, sorry I didn't bring one out. Google it later. I might figure that out. But it's just, imagine like those people that go jumping over fences. It does not have the horn. It has a seat with stirrups that are hung forward in the saddle. And that is a balanced ride saddle. So those saddles put you in what they call the rider's groove of the horse, which is right behind the horse's neck and withers. So the withers is the part that sticks up behind the horse's neck. And so you can ride in balance and in rhythm with the horse, and you're not fighting the equipment. The equipment is helping you in position with the horse. So I grew up with that. So I started out, oh yeah, I'm gonna be cowgirl. Dad had no idea what to get. He's like, well, we gotta come prepared, but we didn't. We came prepared the other way. So then I got my tall boots and my English outfit and all these things, and eventually got into showing and stuff over fences, and I did uh, little jumps and jumping and stuff like that. So what's really great about that background is it really puts you into your seat, really into your feet, I should say. And that's the best way you could be riding. And so if I started out Western, like my dad dressed me up and made out what the riding lessons were going to be about, I wouldn't have had that development in the way of riding and guiding in tune with the horse. So I would have been stuck in what we call a counterfeit riding saddle. And so also fast forward lots of years, I started to not like saddles. I found out I did lots of trail riding, so I got out of the shows and stuff. Then I grew up, did lots of trail riding and just outdoor, adventurous type of riding. I would do little shows here and there just for fun, and stuff like that. But so I was doing lots of those things, and I didn't really like the English style saddles for trail riding. Whether it's true or not, my belief was that the English style saddle, because they're so small, wouldn't be good for long haul trail riding because it was just sitting on a narrow part of the horse's back. True or not, that was my belief. So I wanted to get away from English style saddles. Then the Western style saddles I thought just never fit the horses well, and it offered too much movement on the top of the back of the horse. And my thinking back then was because of this theory. So Western style saddles, I'm sure you can all imagine them, cowboys. Western style saddles are stacked up a lot with padding, layers, tree. So it gets really tall up there, right? I'm exaggerating, but it gets taller. And so if this is you sitting on the horse and you're up here and there's all this movement, look what happens to the top. A lot. So the higher up on the pendulum that you get, the more movement. So I would consider bareback down here where my elbow is and less movement, but the higher up you get, build up saddles, trees, all these things, you get a lot more movement. So that was my theory. And so I just rode bareback for the longest time. Just like no saddles, I just went bareback. I was out of tune with the horse and all this kind of stuff. So that's what I liked. Now, let's see. So I started 89, way back when. Now I met a lovely lady. I just got so blessed, just chance meeting to meet this wonderful woman who's in my life all the time. And I consider her my horse mom, Janice Wilson. And I ran into her at the Mustang Makeover in Fort Worth, Texas, just by chance. And Wileen Wilson was competing with a Mustang there. She ended up getting third place, and that was really neat to watch. I just turned the corner with one of my students. We were just strolling through, and there she was, this lady sitting there promoting her daughter's horse. And I got to talking to her, and she kept going. We just kept learning, and it was an hour and a half later, and it was showtime. And I'm like, oh, would you please come out? So she, to my amazement, agreed to come out to where I am, Central Coast, California, all the way. She lives in Arizona. She agreed to come all the way out, spend 2 weeks with me, and teach me everything she knows about horsemanship. So this is how it leads into who we're going to talk about today, because before then, this was 2016. So 2016, I met lovely Janice Wilson, and she's amazing, has amazing daughters. And so she came out, spent 2 weeks with me, and I got to learn all about Monty Foreman. And I had no idea who Monty Foreman was and what he contributed to horsemanship and all these types of things. But we're not going to go into all those things. But I just want to pick apart one thing today, and that is what he contributed in horse riding equipment is the balance ride saddle. And I actually have 3 of them now, 3 different kinds. I have 2 older ones, and then I got this new one from a saddle maker called Boz Saddlery. So we're going to go over Boz Saddlery's Monty Foreman balance ride saddle design. And it basically has all of the Monty Foreman saddle design to it. And what's special about these style saddles? So it is a Western style saddle. However, It is built in a way it balances like an English saddle. And I was like, wow, this just is a miracle because this solves all my problems. I wanted to go trail riding. I wanted to ride and balance with the horse. And I wanted to not hurt the horse's back with a little more even weight distribution. So, balance ride saddle. I couldn't believe this existed since the 1950s when Monty Foreman first designed this and patented the design. And it's been there, and I don't know why I was never shown this all this time. And so I want to pass this knowledge on to you and take this opportunity with this platform and give you guys this great insight on saddle design. And let's see, what does Janice say? Janice Wilson, she says, don't ride in one. Don't ride in the balance ride saddle because you're going to want to get one. So she brought about 14 saddles with her when she stayed with me for 2 weeks at one time, and she had all of me and my students and I on horses in all the saddles. And I think a student or two bought one. I bought one, and now I have 3. So anyway, I just want to grab a little bit of information here. I'm going to move you over a little bit. And I got it on the table, but I do want to talk about Mr. Monty Foreman a little bit. So we have the saddle there. And I have this, let's start off with this. And I have all these great books and stuff. So I do tell my students to get this book just like Janice does, because this is my introduction to Monty Foreman. And I think this is his only published book you can get that's continually being published. And this is Monty Foreman. It's a nice illustration. Not sure if he drew this one or painted it, but he was an artist. And so a lot of his work in here, he's illustrated. This one's a lot of pictures, and this was written and published towards the end of his career, which, being a horse person, if you're passionate about it, you're going to take it to the end. So anyways, and then there's these other books I got gifted by Janice, and this is the original Monty Foreman books with these are the original ones with, it says 46 illustrated articles on horse handling science. So I really like it because he calls it horse handling science. And so I tabbed a couple pages in here, and I do want to read his little bio so we do know who we're talking about. Because also, just like his saddles, why are his saddles not like more popular? And those who do know about it really know about it, and they're doing their horse and their riding career a great service. All right, I didn't tab the thing here. Let's see. So I don't think it talks about him, but it talks about his philosophy and stuff. But let's see, does it have a... Okay. Alright, so it has it in the little sleeve. Alright, so... And this one was actually signed by his... I got it off of the Amazon, and it was signed by his co-author. Okay, so Monty Foreman was America's foremost trainer of horses and riders. Many of the great modern advances in Western training and overall riding skills have come from Foreman's years of research into the action and interaction of horse and rider, always with the aim of improving their athletic ability as a team. It was Foreman who first applied still and motion picture photography to the sport of riding to determine beyond doubt how horses move most naturally and effectively. So you could see how his saddle design became part of that path. I feel like I have to get close, but I don't have to because I have the microphone. Okay, let me see me. Naturally and efficiently. That's what I meant. It was Foreman who demonstrated the supreme importance of the correctly designed saddle and bit. We can get into bits later. He designed the incomparable balanced ride saddle and the Foreman versatile bit. Equipment that has taken hundreds of riders and their mounts to fame and glory in the show arena and helped thousands of enthusiasts derive the utmost pleasure and safety from the sport. His innovations have had a profound influence in modern day training and riding. More than we know. And I really love to give credit to those who have come before us and where we learn our information and all that stuff. So I'm going to give Mr. Monty Foreman a lot of credit on his designs today. Foreman and his accredited instructors, who is Janice Wilson, who I met, have shared their knowledge in more than 3,000 riding clinics in the United States and Canada for more than 75,000 students, many of whom have gone to win trophies and monetary rewards. His methods, which clinic students are taught on their own horses, are applicable to all kinds of Western and English riding. So I was talking a little bit about how I started out English and I ended up being a little more Western. But to my understanding through Janice Wilson, he says it's world-class horsemanship. It's not English, it's not Western, it's just world-class horsemanship. So that's why he says both Western and English. And so, yeah, so it just talks about what's in the book. But that is about Monty Foreman a little bit. And I don't think he has too many photos of him. I really tried to find some online, and there's not too many. I'm going to have to go through and ask Janice if she has any special photos. But this is the best I can come up with. You can Google Monty Foreman and that. So anyway, we are going to talk about saddle, and I'm going to show you, I did bookmark a little thing here. Now he wrote this and did a lot of these illustrations and things, and I did bookmark his, now this is, I'm going in order of his publishings because he did write a lot in that book over there that we just read from. So this is from Writing by Reasoning, Monty Foreman, and come over here. So there's a lot of interesting things here. And so the first picture illustrates what he would call a counterfeit riding saddle. So he says bulk, anti-ride problem. So he's showing how there's a lot of bulk happening. You got a saddle pad, you got rigging that goes around and around and around and loops through this big metal loop and all this type of leather and pieces, and it just keeps adding up, 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 up. And you can see where the stirrups are hung farther back around the saddle tree. And then this is an illustration of kind of what you get in the end. Your legs sticking way out, and you could stick a 2x4, an old school 2x4 when there's actually 2x4 instead of what it is now. But you could stick one of those between the legs there, and it's just got so much stuff. So back to the English riding. So you want close contact with your horse. You want to feel like you're bareback, but you have the stability of a saddle, which gives you a little more leverage. So saddle's not for balance and not for staying on. It's to help you with your horsemanship, and it's to help you help that horse move and do what he needs to do. And that's what Monty Foreman's all about, is the agility and versatility and athletability of the horse. And, you know, basically chunk it down to maximum usefulness, right? So that's the basis of his designs. And so you could see a front view of how that looks with the legs. I call this position, which was what you're gonna see a lot. Unfortunately, I see this a lot with brand new saddles that are $5,000 and have the beautifulest leather work tooling done to it and designs, but all that prettiness doesn't help with your functionality of it, the practicality of the saddle. And so this is what you want. This diagram here, this is more like your English riding saddle, where you have close contact with the horse. You put a little leg pressure, your horse feels all these things, and your legs aren't sticking way out catching all the cactus. So let's see what he says. Grip and fit are prevented below the knee. yeah, so it's prevented below the knee. So here's the knee line he's illustrating, except by heels and spurs, which are not appreciated by the horse. So he was not a spur user. And with his training or horse handling science methods, you don't need spurs. You just gotta move and groove with that horse. Here is the gripper fit without grabbing heels and spurs. Whoops, there we go. Okay. Oh, and here's what he says about the thickness. When leather thickness and metal Ds are applied on top of the saddle skirts, there are approximately 4 inches under each knee. Each leather thickness is about 3/8 inches. So yeah, that adds up. Count them by adding numbers 4, 6, 7, all those numbers in the diagram. This one added up to 4 3/8 inches. Imagine trying to ride with a 4 by 6 post under each knee. That's what this says. And so now I'm going to show you what he did on the innovation here. So this illustrates very well. So this is your typical saddle here, where the stirrups are hung farther back, and you're out of the rider's groove. So this is what he did to the saddle design. He put the stirrup leathers farther forward, and he's got 2 pieces here, so it sort of creates a V effect, where this is held by a hobble, if you can see that little attachment right there to hold the stirrup in place. Stirrups are actually modified so they don't flip forward. But yeah, so this is your typical riding saddle. This is the Monte Foreman riding saddle. So you can see the difference on the placement of the stirrup leather. So without me dissecting, we'll see what this looks like on a real Monte Foreman saddle. So let's see what he says about this one. Let's see, I think this is 113 down here. It is easily proved that weight can be carried best in vicinity of vicious circle. Stirrups on anti-ride saddles are hung far back. He calls them anti-ride saddles. Are hung far back on seat. Even when standing, rider does not get on horse's carrying circle. So I think what he means by carrying circle is what we were calling the rider's groove. Or the plumb line. So dressage riders may call it the plumb line, which is the center of balance. Okay, so let's see what he says about his. 114. On balanced rides, stirrups are hung in carrying spot. Here's where race, jump, and polo horses carry the weight best. So this allows for movement by your horse. So anyway, pretty cool stuff. And here's all the logistics about it. Here's the ideas in theory. And like my mentor Janice Wilson said, don't ride in one because you're gonna want one. When you sit in that saddle, you are put in the perfect riding position. So let's look at some of these over here. I think I marked it off. So here's his newer picture book, kind of showing what the riders look like. Oh, there we go. Kind of showing what the riders look like. Let's see. Oh, and it talks more about the rigging, because we definitely want to get into the rigging, which is how the saddle's held on. So, yeah, and then sorry, we're jumping around. But this is a good picture to illustrate what it looks like underneath the stirrup. So we talked about how you got close contact with the stirrup and you're in position with the horse, and so no gingerbread leg here. And now what helps out with that is what's underneath that leg, which is how the saddle's hung on. So we have a cinch here, and you can see it split into 3 different places, this latigo. And the latigo is on 2 sides of the saddle, left and right, instead of just one side like typical Western style saddles. And so that takes away the bulk too, because it's spread evenly. So it's only got 1 layer of thickness instead of all of that stacked up. And that's what's neat about that. So he figured out a way to, split it into 3 areas. Let's see what else. Trying to find he's got this. And he did add his pictures I just showed you in here. Okay, so here's a picture of what the bulk looks like on the horse. It's all bulked up around that metal ring, going around, around and around. And it's also hung back here, not in groove with the horse. And then there's that hobble I was talking about that holds the stirrup in place. And you can see here on the side view how it puts the rider out of groove, and there's a lifted fork which doesn't help men riders very much or put you in that rider's groove, because now it's putting you onto the farther back part of the loin on that horse. And if you draw a line here, that's really far back on the horse. This is where you want to be sitting. Let's see. Yeah, so he talks in here about how he got to that design and stuff, but I don't want to go into too much details because you can get this book yourself. This is Monty Foreman's Horse Training Science, and it's a little bit about Monty Foreman. And I'm just going to show you my saddle here on what that looks like, I guess in person. show you I got my my beautiful saddle. So let's see how we get this beautiful thing in view. Oops. Oh, alright, it's stuck. Okay, let's see, come a little closer. And still have yet to figure this out without a camera person. Okay, so let's see. I see you. Here is my balance ride saddle, and this one here is made specifically by Boz. So this is Boz Saddlery, and I really like this design because one thing to go with Monty Foreman's design, it's very, very lightweight. This saddle weighs 16 pounds. I can't speak for all of the Monty Foreman saddles, but this one made by Boz is 16 pounds. Now, other saddle maker is, come down here. So another saddle maker is John Fallis. You can check out his website. It's, I think, fallissaddlery.com. And he makes a few of the other saddles I have, and also Bob's Saddlery makes them, and he's out in Arizona, where I think Fallis is in Colorado. And Boz is in California, where I am. So now those are the three I know. I think there might be a few others who make balance ride saddles, and they have the permission and the patent design to make them. They all make them slightly different. They'll have a little bit of different flair to it depending on the saddle maker. So this one right here is the Boz. Now what I love about this saddle is, for one, lightweight. It has a saddle tree. This is what sold me on this one right here. Is the saddle tree is made out of plastic, which people will say, first looking at it, it looks synthetic. Now it's absolutely not synthetic. And if you're going to say it's synthetic based off of the tree being plastic, then you could say all the saddles are synthetic. But most saddles have wooden trees. Wooden trees tend to flex, bend, lose their screws, and crack and break, I think, a whole lot easier. Now this one, I haven't tested it out more than, let's see, this saddle actually was made on my birthday last year. So that was March, the end of March. So it's been a little over a year, so we've tested it out that long. I ride in this saddle the most. I even took it in a Mustang makeover competition, and it worked out great. People were just like, wow, what is this saddle? Now this one right here doesn't need padding because the padding is attached to the bottom, so you can change the gullet width depending on the horse you're riding, which I really like too, because I was looking for a saddle that can fit any horse, any rider, and just go with that. Now, Monty Foreman saddles